But while we were playing those games, we had a strong and very important process ongoing in the background, where we were checking candidates. A lot of candidates have applied for this job. More than 100 have reached out to us by email or other methods to apply for this job. So we have developed an own platform for doing our evaluation. And it is so important to say that, because when he is not only getting the job because he was just here and everyone is excited at this moment about how the season ends, and not only because there is this vibe around the whole club right now. Now he is getting the job because we had a strong process. We have compared him with a lot of other candidates, and we had some strong main or important criteria, and I only want to summarize them here. One was that the candidate has worked in youth development, as we want to be a club that develops young players. We want to continue to do that. A coach that had impact to a team and had a positive impact to a team and was able to implement a structure. A coach that made individuals better over time, and a coach that has experience in MLS or a comparable league. And as I said, we had a lot of candidates, and we had a lot of interesting candidates. I had interviews with two of them. One has won 2 championships in different countries. So Vanni has got this job because at the end of the whole process, he was also the strongest candidate and the candidate that convinced us more to continue on our path to be an organization that develops itself step by step until we finally at one point in the future win some silverware. Thank you.
Okay, Vanni.
Yeah, thanks, Axel, and thank Tom. You know, I'm very happy. That's pretty simple today. I'm happy, excited. I'm thankful and to the club, and honored also that the club decided to continue with me after this, I would say, crazy but very beautiful 3 months that when I stepped as an interim head coach. When you guys asked me that was my kind of first choice. Of course, I would have been happy to get the job on a permanent basis, and so I'm actually really excited now. I'm really looking forward to start. I'm really looking forward to January 15 when we're gonna start again the preseason, because I'm really energized, and you know, it's after the game in Kansas City, I was actually moody for one day, and maybe not even one day, because then I went for a walk on the seawall, and I had a lot of people from that stopped me and say thank you for the great season that you guys had, and so they actually, the fans cheer me up the day after the loss, and then when we agreed on for me to continue to be the head coach, is you know, it's all that I asked, and I know that removing the label of interim probably means just that I have more responsibility, but I would say I welcome the responsibility. Again, I'm truly honored that the club chose me, and I will give 1000% try to, let's say, put this trust in me and bring some success for the city and the club. The other thing that I want to say, that the only, I would say condition, because it was very easy to talk when we had to talk and say we agreed, because you know, they wanted me to stay and I wanted to stay, so it was very easy. The only condition, I said that I wanted to keep the same staff, that because it's not, I would say, a day that we nominate me as a head coach, but we decided to keep going with the same coaching staff that we did fantastically, and they helped the club and myself a lot in these 3 months. So I'm really happy that also we continue with the same group of people.
Wonderful. Thank you, Vanni. We'll take your questions now. We'll start first with Jay Janower from Global Television. Go ahead, Jay.
First off, Axel and Vanni, congratulations. Axel, you mentioned the fact that you had more than 100 people apply for this job. And I know at the time you said it was going to be a global search. Little did you know at the time, I think, that the person who's going to do the job was right under your nose. When did you know Vanni was the man? And when did you know he was the person to direct this team?
Yeah, I don't know if there was the exact date. I think, of course, when you had the chance here, 14+1 games to prove it, it didn't happen after the last game or after the Seattle tie. I think it was somewhere after maybe half of the games in, where we were only down to a short list of 2-3 candidates. And I think that was also the time where I stopped to interview people, because I didn't want it to be unfair and just interview people while I was tending more and more to continue with Vanni. But also, as I said, we have not found the time, or we were not desperate to sit down while the season was ongoing, and we were preparing game after the game, Wednesday, Saturdays, Tuesday, Saturday, whatever. So I also had first to hear what Vanni has to say to that, and also his expectations. So we've only found that time after the season. And it is more than only a contract. It's also about the commitment to sign in to everything the club has done, also to be aligned on the targets we have, also to be aligned on the next steps. And we haven't had that conversation. So at least I kept the process a little bit open until I finally found the time, and we were sitting down, we were shaking hands, and we said, we get that inked somehow. But we are completely on the same page.
Thank you, Jay. Gemma, go ahead, please.
Hi, gentlemen. Congrats, Vanni, on the intern tag being removed. What happens with the director of methodology role and the U23 coach? I know Vanni was pretty into keeping those while he was interim, but I can't imagine that would be a lot for a permanent head coach to handle.
Yes, first of all, the head of methodology role will not be replaced by a new director of methodology, because Vanni also will remain being responsible for that topic and that role. Of course, he will be limited by his time and the 24 hours a day only has. So we will discuss in the next weeks what is the right setup and how we can support him to execute this role, and how we will have the best setup to coach our coaches and to continue to build the academy as well.
And Vanni, how do you do it all? How do you do the director of methodology while also leading the first team?
Yeah, of course, it was a lot on the plate. And of course, I had these 3 months that I did it in a way that to train for me to do this role even in the next year. I can tell you that even when I was now, and we were in a very tight schedule, game by game, I kept continuing doing my weekly meeting with the coaches here in the academy, my weekly meeting with the leaders of our academy centers around Canada, and I kept, I would say, trying the process of improving the coaches, and of course trying to support them and develop them. Of course, what I stepped down was the fact of being every day at training with the academy, and every day, let's say, being on hand with the players on the academy. So for the methodology part, I will be focused on big picture stuff, and then, as Axel said before, the club will be organized in a way that the message can trickle down, and the quality of the work that actually is already there. Because I want to reiterate that is because we did very good with the first team in the last 3 months, but also the academy did very well. and it's going to be keep doing in this way, in that quality.
So is there anything, you've now had a bit of time to reflect back on the last 3 months, Vanni. Is there anything that stands out to you, a memory or anything like that, that you'll look back on in 5, 10, 20 years, and that'll be what you remember about this crazy period?
Yeah, there's I would say a couple for sure. When we won in Portland, that comeback was amazing, and the joy of the players and the atmosphere that we had right after that in the locker room and in the plane was fantastic. But probably the best one, it's really hard to top, and I hope that we top that next year, because it means that we're doing very well, is the Seattle night when we get the playoff, and was the celebration with the fan at the end. It looked like it was fantastic. So it's I think that I will remember that night for a long time. Hopefully I will remember that night like one of the nights, because next year we're going to have even more moment like that.
Can you, Vanni, talk about this particular group of players that you have, and how you feel about them moving forward?
Well, the group has been fantastic this year. It's no secret that the togetherness, the willingness of the group of going through the obstacles and achieve something great has been some of the most important ingredients of our success in the last part of the season. And I say every time that the group is the leader, and that's what it actually is, because it's like you don't have one single player, two single players that stand out, and but it was really a chemistry between a lot of players, and I look forward to work with these guys beginning of next year. Of course, it's that's question. We have the sporting director here, so the transfer market is always fluid, so we don't know, but I envision us having a lot of players that we have this year also next year.
And Axel, I wanted to touch on that transfer market with you. Where do you see there needing to be changes or improvements made within this group to move to take that next step, as you like to say?
Yeah, first of all, we have sit down with every single player for at least 30 minutes to understand how they think about the last season and about how they think about the next year, and if they are feeling okay to being here, or if they feeling challenged, or if they want to do a change after a year. I think that's a fair question. Not everyone always was playing, and not everyone maybe got the minute he was looking for. So we first had to find out what the exact situation is in the group, and in the same time, as I said, we were scouting, and we are still continuing to scout all year long, like a shadow team for every single position. We now also have to wait what happens in the expansion draft. So we will continue to build. We have needs for sure. It's too early to speak about them. The one thing I have to say, it's while we're working on increasing the quality and the level of play of our team, scouting and recruitment becomes more complicated, because you want to do the next step, and I always want us to do a job that with every new addition or every change, we also increase the quality of our group. And you have to find very good players to do that, because we have been the second best team in the second half of the season. So as I always say, we don't want to sign the first one. We don't just want to maybe fill in a need that we just have. We want to get it done right. And I think last season has proven that that's the right direction, that it maybe can take some time. Obviously it was not our ideal scenario to have to wait so long for Ryan Gold, for example, but at the end it paid out. and we will continue to do that. So saying that, we are working on that with announcing Vanni, and Vanni being officially our head coach. That will also help, because moving forward, if you want to add a player, he also wants to know who's the head coach, and he mostly wants to speak with the head coach. So things like that will move forward from now.
One more for me, because I know I'm taking up all of the time. You talked about the player interviews. After those player interviews, is there anyone that you don't expect to come back next year?
First of all, I think 99% of all players, I think everyone, 100% of the players, please correct me, Vanni, if I'm wrong, even those who have not got the minutes said that that was the best group they have ever been in. So we had meetings with players where somebody said, hey, it wasn't my best year, was a little bit disappointed for me. I was really hoping to get minutes or to play more. But one thing I have to say, that was the best group I have ever been in my career. And that was said by guys that are young, but also by guys that are at the second half of their career. So this is an amazing thing. And we know that that's also the driver of success for us. So to touch this group is dangerous, because you can also make things worse. So said that, there is nobody who really wants to run out of the door. But of course, I respect that a guy like the one I mentioned, he maybe wants to look for other options. So the important thing is that at the end, if we at the beginning of next season, if we start, that we first have again such a group. The group is the driver of everything. That we have a group like that together, and that we have found solutions that satisfies everyone. And if somebody who was a little bit disappointed about this situation finds another club where he can play more minutes, or he feels better about doing that move, then we will do that. If we also find a solution that helps us to backfill this role in the way that we have another great guy that can give a lot to the group.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gemma. We'll go now to Tom Bogert.
Thank you. Congrats, Vanni. Nice to speak with you and Axel. This question, I guess, would be for Axel. You know, I know that you just kind of touched on it a couple questions in a row there about the offseason, but, you know, I guess just in general, it sounds like the plan is going to be to retaining most of this core of kind of what the team looked like in the second half of the season, and maybe make a couple changes around that, rather than say, you know, a number of different areas or options that you're looking at.
We have already 2 new signings, almost new signings, and everyone maybe is now surprised, but it's not that big surprise. Kairo, we added last season for a lot of money, and is one of the players we want to develop. Will return after he hasn't played a lot of minutes for this club and had a very bad serious injury. The other one is Pedro, maybe the most unluckiest player in our squad, because after it took us to get the paperwork done for 2 months, it took us 2 months to get the paperwork done, and he finally arrived here. His vaccine that he received in Ecuador wasn't approved here, so he had to go to a 2 weeks full of hard stop quarantine, and then he came back and had to build shape, and he couldn't play any minutes. So that's already 2 additions coming back or coming to the group. And in general, as I said, in the second half of the season, where we had all our players together, we have been the second best team in the Western Conference, and the third best team overall in MLS. So you better don't touch too much in that group. And that doesn't mean that we don't want to challenge them again, and we don't think that we cannot make the next step with those guys. It's not that we only want to continue what we have done. We see still that a lot of those guys have not reached their ceiling. So there's a lot of things we can do with this group, but of course we will also react to the maybe question of players or expectation of players to go somewhere else, or to needs that we have seen and where we think we can and find a better solution, or we find somebody, not a better solution, we find somebody who can give something in addition to this group.
And that my second question kind of leads well to that, because I was going to ask Vanni, you know, what have you seen, I guess, from Cal, you know, before you became the head coach? I know I don't believe he played any games under you, if at all, and Pedro in training, and what can they add to this group next year?
Yeah, I think that Kairo can be is a midfielder that is different from all the other midfielders that we have, because I think he has some technical quality that are different than the other one. Is he can play those vertical pass to play those ball in between lines, and he's also very aggressive and very committed on the defensive side. And I think that he needs to be worked and improved a lot as any other players on the tactical part. But yeah, what I've seen, I really liked it, to be honest. I think that's the base to be optimistic in that. And about Pedro, Pedro is an interesting thing, because it's like we worked together like 3 weeks, and it was like 5 months that without training, basically, with a few months without training with the team, trained by himself. So he came here that he was a little bit out of shape, to be honest. And the first week I was, well, which player is really that is really like this? And then actually after 5, 6, 7 training sessions, I could see that no, it's actually, there's a lot of potential. There's even if he's young, his intelligence on the field is really good, and he's a guy that is very good technically, but he comes with a very, I would say, team-oriented spirit on the field. And of course, we will have to work a lot with him, and because we know that the first year in MLS, it's hard for everyone, because the demands of the game here are maybe higher that in other league, especially physically. But again, for the two guys, I'm already optimistic that, as Axel said, I feel like we have already 2 new signings for the next year.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Let's go to Har next, please.
Hello, good morning, guys. It's nice to see you. Thanks for taking the time. I have a lot of questions. I wrote them down. I'm going to start with Coach Vanni. Congratulations on your new deal. You are now the head coach. I know we were all surprised, super shocked. Did you have any discussions or any thoughts, offers from any other clubs, or was your heart just with Vancouver?
No, my heart was with here, and I have to be. I don't tell you who, but I had like some guys that I would say gently inquired, like you say, hey, are you already done with the club? Just even to say hello to me, but there was no other. I would say chance for any other club if the Whitecaps were going to offer me the deal, and that's the reason why we get an agreement after a minute. Well, maybe there was another club if Fiorentina would have called me, but I don't think I'm in there rather. So it's I'm very happy to stay here.
Now, one of the conditions I think was mentioned earlier on the Zoom, that you wanted to bring the same staff back that you had with you to help you guys into the playoffs. Are you going to hire anyone else to join that staff, or promote anyone, or is it just the guys who are there now, or do you want to bring someone else in?
No, the immediate staff will remain the same staff that we have now. Of course, that's the club is not only the 6 guys that you've seen in that interview after Seattle. We have, I would say, a big and large staff, and then it's a club staff: performance, medical, data scientist, athletic therapist, and so the club is so big that the club will make maybe some move. I don't know, and but I rely on the fact that the people that are working here are world class, and they will be world class even next year.
All right, thank you. This question's for either of you. It's a 2-year contract. Why 2 years? And is there any club option for a 3rd year?
This question is for me?
For Axel, I think.
For me?
Yeah.
Why 2 years? Because 1 year was too short and 3 years was too long. No. The reason is that I think 2 years is a really good term. As I always say, we want to build things step by step. I think that even Vanni, in his position, is in a good position because he wants to prove something within the next 2 years, and then his position to negotiate with me again is much better. That's my wish. I want to have it that way. So I think a 2-year term is exactly the right to do the next step, and then to go from there. And it brings everyone in a good position. Also Vanni. That's a reason, and no option. I don't like options in coaching contracts. I like that everyone is doing such a great job that we are very happy to sit down early to renegotiate the contract.
Now that you've got the coach locked up for 2 years, what about your future with the team? Have you had any discussions with the organization about keeping you longer? I believe you have 1 year remaining on your deal with the club.
Yeah, I have 1 year remaining with this club. I think this question is not really going to me. I can say that I want to do exactly the same that I expect my coach to do a good job and to prove that we can continue to rebuild from year to year. I remember, by the way, that we have all been together here on that call 1 year ago, and you were asking me about that, and I said I want us all to sit down in 1 year again, and I will ask you, do you think we have done the next step? And that was a step forward. So that's my approach, and everything else will come. We prepare in the next year, and I still have a little bit more than 1 year of contract, so I'm not nervous right now about that, and I think the right time will come.
All right, we'll get back to you on that question. I believe the deadline has come in regards to options declined and options exercised and bona fide offers made. When will the club be announcing that? And can you share any information on those 3 subjects? Thank you.
No, unfortunately, I cannot share. Although everyone knows that the timeline is over since a little bit more than 1 hour, because we have discussed the last topics in the last 24 hours. And the timeline was also only us giving a notice to the league, because the players are under contract with the league. So the league now has to give the notice to the players. And we also will follow up with a few players on that topic in the next hours. And I think everyone understands that we first want to speak with our players before we announce something officially.
Lucas Cavallini, he's a player on the club, on the roster right now. Will he be on the team for that first game in Columbus? What is his future with the team? I know he is currently under contract.
Yes, and as long as he's under contract, he will return early January to camp and prepare for the next season. Everyone knows that it is a general saying for me, and it's true for every player. Every player in this club is for sale. It depends always on the offer. So if somebody wants to leave, or somebody doesn't feel comfortable to stay here, or it's a club somewhere else is totally attracted by our player, things can change. That's a part of our business. That's just a reality. As long as we are not Bayern Munich, because then you are sitting in another chair and you can decide things differently. So for that reason, I would not say about any player that there is a guarantee that he returns. But as long as everyone has a contract, there's a very big likelihood that he returns.
Now, it sounds like you're throwing out a fishing rod, maybe trying to catch some offers for Cavallini. Do you see a future with the team for Cava? Has he expressed his desire to move on from the organization?
Yeah, that's those conversations we are not doing in front of a Zoom call, and for that reason, I also don't quote from those conversations. I can only say that Lucas had a very unlucky season because he wasn't here in preseason. He was gone for a long part in midseason. He was twice injured in a very bad moment, and while all that things were really unlucky for him, and he was definitely not in a situation that was very satisfying for him, he showed up in an amazing way as a guy in the locker room. He gave a lot of positive energy to this group, and he was pushing the whole project. And I think that was a strong commitment as a DP to support the other guys, and everyone looks up to him and thinks, hey, if he is not complaining about his situation, I cannot complain about my situation. So he has a part in all of that successful story. And I acknowledge that. And now it's, as with a lot of other players, to find out what's the best thing for him. But we're not fishing for something here. As I said, we have finished second, and Lucas played his role in that. And if he stays here, because we all think that's the best thing, then he will play an important role also next year. Because I really don't hope, and I don't see that coming, that he has another unlucky season like that again.
I know that other people have questions. I have one quick one, if that's all right. I believe Andy Rose and Toss Ricketts are free agents. Would you like to have them back with the team? Have they expressed the desire to return? What's the update on those two veterans?
They are only free agents if we are not finding any form of an agreement until the 31st of December, because they have contracts until the 31st of December. It's a little bit a different situation than with our options. The options we had to take today, and that automatically prolongs contract. Their situation is only a little bit different because we have no automatic option or option that we can take, but it doesn't mean that we are not in conversations also with those dues, and we have a full month more time to sort that out. And then if we would not find a solution, then they are free agents. Yes.
Thank you, Hart.
Thank you, guys.
We'll jump forward now to Josh, and then we'll wrap up with Alex. Go ahead, Josh.
Hi, guys. Axel, nice to see you. Vanni, congrats on the head coaching job. I just wanted to ask, do you see yourself integrating more of the academy into the first team now, with you taking over as director of methodology and the head coach in both roles?
Can you say it again? Sorry, I didn't hear.
Do you see yourself integrating more of the academy, the under 23 academy, into the first team now that you're kind of hands-on with everything?
Yeah, that's I would say that's the hope that we have in we know that Axel says it a lot of time, and he also is the will of the ownership to make us a development club, but to be a development club and to try to develop young players into the MLS. That's what we aim at. The same time, we are here to try to be again to do next steps every time. So this year, next steps has been getting the playoff. Next year is at least confirming us and being there. So we're in a business of results. So I would say that our challenge is to develop players that are going to be up to the challenge, and also not to be scared sometimes to play young players. So that's, I would say, it's a challenge that I embrace. And when someone from the academy makes his way on the first team, we're all happy. So we will try to do it, but it's not that it's now that we're going to become and play. We're going to play with 11 guys from the academy. You need to earn your spot in your team.
So obviously you took over midway through the season, but do you see yourself making any changes tactically to start next year, or just kind of going to wait and see how the roster fills out and all of that?
The most important thing when you decide the tactics for a team is to play the team in the best way that suit the players that you have at your disposal. So the way that I chose the way that we were playing this season was because we were thinking that I was thinking that with the player that I had in the roster, that was the best way to approach game and to play. So of course we have a base now, so we know that we can play in this kind of structure, and we have to develop on this kind of structure. But as a coach, we're always trying to do something different. And for example, what we didn't do this season, it's because when I took over, it was literally a game every 3 days. So we had to be value much more consistency than flexibility. I'd like the team to become even a little bit more flexible. So for sure in preseason we'll work on a primary structure, but also on a way that to have a secondary structure too.
Awesome. And Axel, we spoke at the end of last season about the steps that you wanted to take with this organization. Where do you think you are now after this year? The team made the playoffs, but obviously the ultimate goal is to win an MLS Cup and even farther than that.
You're somewhere in the middle of the ladder. So I think we have we were coming from the last spot, and we just failed to move into the playoffs in a way complicated last year, and we now have finished 6th in this year in another way complicated year, because sometimes it feels like several years that we have played this season, but it was only 1 year, and in the first half of this year we haven't been at home. We never played at home. We have been in Salt Lake, what was a big disadvantage, because in comparison to last year we had to play in Salt Lake without fans, while all the other teams were staying at home with fans. So I think we want to do the steps sustainable. So for me, there's no doubt that the end of this season is the starting point of next season. And there are a few more positions ahead of us, and of course there's also challenges in the Canadian Championship, and also in playoffs to win something with this club. And I would say we are somewhere in the middle for me. There is enough space to do other steps, and I'm up for it, and I'm fully energized to do the next one.
Great. And I was last one for me. I was wondering if you could provide an update on the ongoing investigation with the Vancouver Whitecaps team and the executives.
Yeah, there is not a lot of things I can update about, other than that the investigators are having asked a lot of questions. We're providing answers. They have asked for a lot of documents. We're providing those documents. As I always said, it's an investigation, not together with us, or not an investigation that is working for us. It's an investigation against the club. So for us right now, there's not a lot we can comment. Even the investigators asked us not to comment on any specific things, other than to say we are fully supporting the process, and we are doing whatever the investigators asked us to do right now.
Axel, will you be the one to, if because everything's ongoing, it's investigations, will you be in charge of replacing the executive positions if it comes down to something like that?
So I said, and I can repeat that I only felt comfortable to put my name up here to lead that process for the club, to lead the club through this process. If at the end, or if I have the freedom to decide and to do what I think is right. So that means at the end of this process, I have the right and the backup to decide what I think is right. And there is everything is possible, but again, I first want to see what the outcome of this investigation is. But nobody has to be worried that I have not the power to decide what is right, and I will do that because, as I always said, my name was never connected with that. I have nothing to do with what happened 10 years ago in this club. So I can only do that if at the end I can take the right decisions and do the right steps for this organization to finally really to resolve all of that what happened in the past.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for your time today, Axel.
Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Okay, we'll wrap up now with Alex. Go ahead, Alex.
Hey guys, just two here for me. First to Vanni, obviously congrats on the role. Just the one I have for you, how close I guess you're going to be working with Axel in terms of, players, player acquisition to be kind of, if you have any demands, or not demands, but, requests for him in terms of players you bring in. And I guess kind of adding to that, are there any specific spots on the roster you want to see added to in the offseason?
Yeah, of course, we talk every day, and we are in street cooperation, and we are let's say working to try to improve the roster. But what I want to say is like I think one of the reason why I've been chosen, it's because I'm a coach. I'm very good at coaching a team. I'm very good at I know that sounds cocky now, but anyway, but I'm good at doing my job on the field, leading a team and try to improve the team that I have. I think that the club has a very strong structure now with Axel as a sporting director. We have a very good scouting team. And I think that my job, of course, is to give opinion and to give something, but I don't think I should be kind of involved too much in the look for another player or in the dealings or everything, because my job is to coach this team. And so I have I would say the full trust that the team that I will have the January 15 will be a competitive one. And so there's no need for me to have demands or to have a specific request. But of course, there's talk and input and opinion that we share every day.
And
I want to add a few sentences to that because he is absolutely right. This was part of our search mask. In Germany, we have two words, and we call a coach. We call him sometimes manager, or we call him football teacher. And we were looking for a football teacher. And when he's also for that reason the ideal profile. And I want to quote here something Thomas Tuchel said in a very long interview he did with Sportbild after the season about his success in Chelsea. And he said that one things that are critical for him and that helps him to be so successful in Chelsea is that he can completely focus on the work with the players and on the pitch, and he only has to connect with Marina Granskova and Peter Cech, and that this gives him the maximum of time to work on making the team better and players better. And that's exactly the approach that we also have. We want Vanni to have the maximum time to work on the pitch to make the team and the players better, and having a structure around that in that we can trust. And one part of recruitment and scouting obviously is having Nico's overhaul here and having his qualities and using his qualities in the right way to be ready to sign the right players that we need.
And just one for you, Axel. I mean, MLS, naturally, there's always a lot of roster turnover. You guys over the last few off seasons have had a lot. This off season, it looks like your roster is mostly set. How much roster turnover do you anticipate in terms of guys going in, guys going out? Do you think it's going to be kind of another bigger off season, or you're trying to keep it to one or two guys leaving, one or two guys coming in?
Yeah, I have not a fixed number, and as I said, it's also important for us to understand what our players are thinking about that and what everyone individually thinks about this situation. Of course, we are not expecting, I really don't expect such a big turnover again. As I said before, we have a very successful group for a lot of reasons, because we have a lot of very talented and skilled players. We have a good mix of older and younger players, and we had an incredible atmosphere in the group. The group was the driver. We have also a group that correct a lot of things internally. So it's again, I can only repeat that it's also dangerous to touch too much, because we are now in a position where we can also make things worse. So for that reason, we will think very carefully what we do, and we will really be careful in our recruitment process. And the bar is way high for everyone who wants to join our organization.
Thank you to both of you guys.
Thanks, Alex. And thanks everyone for joining us today, and to Axel and Vanni for a very generous amount of time. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you.